Welcome back, dear fixers, to the Dobby's Repairs Halloween special. In this Halloween special, we're carving two pumpkins. The first one doesn't quite go to plan because the actual carving of it does get corrupted. The other one carved perfectly. You'll see both in this video and the final results. I've also collected some scary stories to put in this video as well for you to listen to while you watch me carve the pumpkins with various different tools. Actually, only 3 tools this year. A little handheld hacksaw, the Sealy Dremel tool, the Sealy rotary tool should I say, and a drill with a drill bit and a wire brush, and obviously the normal pumpkin carving tools as well you'll see throughout this video.
The red toolbox. When Clara inherited her grandfather's property, she thought it would be simple. Sell the old farmhouse, clear out the workshop, and move on. But the workshop had always made her uneasy. As a child, she remembered her grandfather spending long nights in there, muttering to himself, the lights burning until dawn. Sometimes, she'd wake to the sound of metal clattering, like the tools were moving on their own. When she'd asked him about it once, he'd simply said, "Tools remember who uses them, Clara. Every cut, every fix, they keep count." After his funeral, she finally went inside. The smell hit her first, a mix of rust, oil, and something faintly sweet, like spoiled fruit. Dust hung in the air, catching in the beams of the single flickering bulb. Everything was coated in age, the lathe, the saws, the wooden workbench worn smooth by decades of use. But in the center sat something she didn't recognize, a red toolbox. The color was wrong for her grandfather, who had hated bright things. It gleamed beneath a layer of dust, almost pulsing in the dim light. The brass plate on the front read, "Property of Frank W." Her grandfather's name. Inside, the tools were perfectly arranged, each in its proper place, each spotless, as if someone had cleaned them just yesterday. A faint hum came from within, like the vibration of something alive. She touched a wrench, and for a split second, she thought she heard a sigh. That night, Clara dreamed of her grandfather's workshop. He was there, standing behind the bench, his face half hidden in shadow. He was smiling, but his teeth looked wrong. "Keep the tools in order," he whispered. "Don't make them wait." When she woke, she heard metal clinking from downstairs. The next morning, tools were scattered across the floor. But they weren't random. They formed a pattern. A circle. In the center was the screwdriver, its handle pointing toward the toolbox like a compass needle. Clara tried to ignore it, to rationalize it, but every night the noises grew louder, hammering, whispers, the sharp smell of ozone. Once, she caught her reflection in the metal lid of the box. Only it wasn't her reflection, it was her grandfather watching her from the other side of the steel. By the 5th night, she'd had enough. She decided to bury the toolbox behind the workshop to end whatever strange hold it had. But when she lifted the lid, something inside the box breathed. The air went cold. The tools began to tremble, one by one. A low voice filled the room, her grandfather's voice, but warped, echoing like it came from inside a hollow drum. "I told you, Clara, tools remember who uses them." The lights blew out. Metal shrieked. She felt hands, not flesh, but steel, clamp around her wrists. The red box snapped shut with a sound like bone breaking. When the neighbors found the workshop 3 days later, they assumed she'd left. The only thing out of place was the red toolbox on the bench, gleaming as if freshly polished. They didn't notice the new engraving on the brass plate until weeks later. Beneath her grandfather's name was a second one, etched deep into the metal. "Property of Clara W." And if you stand close enough, they say, you can hear a faint tapping from inside, like someone gently knocking to be let out.
I hope you found that first story suitably spooky. As you can see, I'm using the hacksaw blade to carve the pumpkin, and we're doing quite a good job really. It's all going relatively well. What do you think?
The Wrench of Wishes. Tom Dillard wasn't a lucky man, but he was a stubborn one. His small auto shop barely kept its lights on, and he was one unpaid bill away from losing it all. When the storm hit that autumn night, tearing the roof off the old storage shed behind the building, he figured he'd salvage what he could. That's when he found it. A wrench half buried in the mud, shining beneath the lightning like something freshly forged. It felt heavier than it looked, solid, cold as stone. Etched into the side, faint but visible, were the words, "For every fix, a price." Tom grinned. "Guess you're my good luck charm," he said, tucking it into his pocket. The first time he used it was on a customer's ruined carburetor, a job that should have taken hours. But the moment he gripped the wrench, the metal seemed to hum in his hand. When he turned the bolt, it spun effortlessly, and the broken piece fused itself clean. The engine purred like it had just left the factory floor. The customer paid double. Over the next few days, every job went perfectly. Word spread, the shop filled with cars from all over town. Tom hired help, bought new equipment, and finally started sleeping easy. But then, the strange things began. A car he'd repaired came back wrecked. The driver swore the steering wheel locked on its own. Another customer called about her truck, said it wouldn't stop running even after the key was out. Tom brushed it off as coincidence. Machines fail. That's what machines do. Then one night, while closing up, he heard someone whisper his name. The sound came from the tool chest. He lifted the lid, empty except for the wrench, glowing faintly red at the edges. He threw it across the room. The next morning, it was back on his workbench, spotless. That same day, a man in a suit came by, a collector, he said, looking for unique tools. He offered Tom a small fortune for the wrench, enough to pay off the shop, the mortgage, everything. Tom hesitated. His hand brushed the wrench, and it almost thrummed like it wanted him to keep it. "You've fixed your life with me," a voice seemed to whisper. "Why stop now?" He shook it off and agreed to sell. The next morning, the collector's car was found wrapped around a telephone pole. Inside, officers said they found only a single object in perfect condition, a gleaming wrench resting in the passenger seat. Tom never opened his shop again. He left town, saying the machines didn't sound right anymore. Years later, when a new owner took over the property, he found the same wrench hanging neatly on the wall above the workbench, polished, waiting. The inscription had deepened, letters darker than blood. "For every fix, a price." And beneath it, a new one. "Last owner, paid in full."
During that lovely story, we have made some progress on the pumpkin. I've just used a drill on him. Now I'm going to carve his mouth a bit bigger. As you can see, he's looking pretty scary and pretty chewed up, like a zombie's gnawed at him. And now we have one final story for you to listen to in this video, so I'll put that up now.
The idle engine. When Harold bought the old farmhouse on the edge of town, the real estate agent warned him about the garage. "It's best to keep it closed," she said, avoiding his eyes. The previous owner was a collector. Inside, dust floated through the light like ash. The smell of oil and rot filled the air, and there it was, an antique black sedan perfectly preserved beneath a thin sheet of grime. Its chrome grille glinted like teeth. Harold didn't remember turning the key in the ignition that first night, but somehow the engine roared to life at 2:17 a.m. He ran outside in his pajamas, heart pounding. The headlights were on, slicing through the dark, but the driver's seat was empty. When he reached for the door handle, the lights died. Silence. The next morning, the concrete beneath the car was wet. Not oil, darker, sticky. It smelled metallic. He tried selling it, but no one ever came back after seeing it. One man vomited in the driveway, another fainted. By the third week, the car had begun whispering. When Harold passed by, its radio flicked on, static hissing his name. The mirrors showed faces behind him that vanished when he turned. Finally, he decided to tow it to the scrapyard. But when the driver hooked the chains, the sedan shuddered, and every door slammed shut at once. The garage filled with the smell of burning rubber. They found Harold's body the next morning, slumped in the driver's seat, eyes wide open. The car was running, purring softly, headlights pointed toward the house. And from then on, every night at 2:17, the engine starts. The neighbors say if you listen closely, beneath the hum, you can still hear Harold screaming.
And now you can see all the pumpkins are fully carved. and we've had some good stories, so I hope you've all enjoyed this video. It's a bit different to my normal content, I know, but it's always fun to carve pumpkins with tools and listen to scary stories, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, drop a like, and thank you very much for watching. And a terrifying thank you to my Fixing Club members, Macca, Rodney, Jason and Sebi. Your support helps me make spooky videos like this and many more. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps both the channel and me out. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I post 2 videos a week, so by subscribing you'll never miss a thing. Got any questions or suggestions? Drop a comment down below, and I'll do my best to reply to everyone. Here at Dobby Repairs, we're all about helping you learn how to work on your vehicle safely and showing you don't need to spend a fortune on tools to get the job done. Want to support the channel further? Become a member, starting at just 99p. Members get perks like early access to videos and more exclusive content. Keep fixing, and I'll see you in the next one.